Today's tale is that of a young teacher with dreams of freeing his people from colonial chains, a man who once stood as a symbol of hope, justice, and African pride. But years later, that same man would rule his country with an iron fist, feared, revered, and finally overthrown by his own army. This is the unbelievable story of Robert Mugabe, the freedom fighter who became a dictator. Our story begins in 1924 in a small village in what was then called Southern Rhodesia, today's Zimbabwe. Robert Gabriel Mugabe grew up under the harsh rule of British colonialism. His father abandoned the family when he was just 10, leaving young Robert to be raised by his mother, a woman who valued education above all. Mugabe studied hard, reading everything he could lay his hands on. He trained as a teacher and even went on to earn several degrees, a rare feat for a black man under white colonial rule. His intelligence earned him respect. His ambition was limitless. But Mugabe wasn't satisfied with teaching. He had bigger plans to liberate his people. He joined the nationalist movement in the 1960s, fighting for black majority rule. For that, the white-led government threw him in prison for 10 long years. Yet even behind bars, Mugabe remained unbroken. He studied, he wrote letters, and he planned. When Mugabe was finally released, he emerged as the face of resistance. He took leadership of a guerrilla army called ZANU, the Zimbabwe African National Union, fighting in the bloody bush war against the white government of Ian Smith. After years of brutal conflict and international pressure, the impossible happened. In 1980, Rhodesia became Zimbabwe, and Robert Mugabe, the teacher, the rebel, the prisoner, became prime minister. People danced in the streets, the world praised him. He spoke of unity, peace, and reconciliation. Even his former enemies said he was visionary. It seemed like a new dawn for Africa, but power changes people. Over time, Mugabe began to tighten his grip. Opposition voices were silenced, elections became questionable, and then came the darkest chapter, the Gukurahundi massacre in the 1980s, when his government sent troops to crush opposition in the southern region. Tens of thousands were killed. Still, Mugabe remained in power. In the 1990s and 2000s, he turned his fury on the white-owned farms, seizing land and giving it to his supporters. The move was meant to correct colonial injustice, but it threw Zimbabwe into economic chaos. Food vanished from shelves, inflation skyrocketed, and the once prosperous nation fell into ruin. Yet Mugabe held on, defiant, proud, untouchable. He blamed the West sanctions and colonialism for Zimbabwe's troubles. To his followers, he was still a hero. To his critics, he had become a tyrant. By 2017, Mugabe was 93 years old, still clinging to power. But when he tried to position his wife, Grace Mugabe, to succeed him, that was the last straw. His own military, once his greatest shield, turned against him. In a shocking twist, the man who had ruled Zimbabwe for 37 years was placed under house arrest. Crowds flooded the streets, not in protest, but in celebration. Robert Mugabe finally resigned. He left behind a nation divided, his legacy torn between admiration and anger. Robert Mugabe died in 2019, a man of contradictions, the liberator who became the oppressor, the teacher who forgot his own lessons. History will forever ask, was he a hero who went too far, or a tyrant who began as a hero? With that, we've come to the end of Robert Mugabe's tale. I'd like to know your thoughts in the comment section. For more interesting stories, click the like button and subscribe.